Marvel boss Kevin Feige teases a reset. John Malkovich has been cut from Fantastic Four, plus updates on Superman's box office, along with the Wonder Woman film Finding a Writer, and we've got a gang of trailers to talk about. All that and more coming up right after this. Welcome to Multiverse News, your source for information about all your favorite fictional universes. My name is Matthew Carroll, and with me on the panel today, we have J. Scotty St. Clair. What's happening, J. Scotty?
Well, the review embargo for Fantastic Four: The First Steps lifted today, so I've been dodging spoilers like Frogger dodging traffic. How many of our listeners do you think I lost with that dated reference?
Probably not as many as you think.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, our audience tends older.
Where's the Frogger reboot? Come on.
Yeah. Oh, that'll happen. And Haley Hobbs, what's happening?
We'll just email Margot Robbie about that, and Lucky Chap will get all over the Frogger movie.
Totally.
Mm-hmm. Right there. It'll be about the busy world of today or something. I don't know. All right. And joining us once again, friend of the cast, writer extraordinaire, journalist, great podcaster, Bill Bria. Welcome, my friend.
Hey, my name is Bill, and I'm here to thrill.
Sweet. That's a good catchphrase, man.
I just got like a million of them. Just keep pumping them out.
I have as many of them as words that rhyme with Bill.
Yeah, my notes app is just filled with catchphrases for myself.
He'd never shill. He's Bill.
That's right. All right, guys. Well, we always like to start off the show with a 5-star review. For this one's from Captains 2012. They say, love getting my news for all my favorite things from one spot. The hosts do a great job covering a slew of topics, and I love listening to their opinions on things, especially since each host has a unique take, and it keeps the conversation interesting. My only complaint is it isn't a daily show. All right, what do you guys think? Daily Show?
Of jobs.
Also, I think that title's taken, The Daily Show.
That's true. That's true. Maybe not for long. I don't know. Freaking CBS.
I hear somebody who wants to be a $300,000 a year patron.
Yeah, that'd be great. We could probably make this a daily show for $300,000.
Great idea.
But no, for real, we have over the years, and when we started this show, it was kind of like we talked about how much we could do it, and just the amount of time it takes. We can only afford to do it daily. Like that is really. But as the show grows, we've always talked about maybe going twice a week, or maybe going 3 times a week, one day if it grows enough, and we can do it. So tell your friends. Support us on Patreon. Maybe we'll go to more days a week. Eventually,
if there was ever a week to do it, this would be one of those weeks.
Yes, it would be. And since we got started late for tech issues, you guys ready to dive right into the stories?
For sure.
Sweet. All right, Marvel Studios may be sitting out this week's storied San Diego Comic-Con Hall H, but that hasn't stopped the big news and updates from pouring in. First, last week, in a huge move, Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige invited a small group of journalists to Marvel Studios offices where he laid out the future of the next 5 to 7 years for the MCU. The biggest takeaway, arguably, was Feige's cagey hints regarding a likely reset to the universe during the events of Secret Wars, saying reboot is a scary word. Reboot can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. Reset, singular timeline. We're thinking along those lines. Other tidbits from Feige's comments include a commitment to recasting the X-Men with new actors for their post-Secret Wars film, an update on the Mahershala Ali-led Blade film, and Sony's mandate that they stay away from the live-action Miles Morales until the conclusion of the animated Spider-Verse trilogy. In Marvel news that looks to the more immediate future, director Matt Shakman shared that John Malkovich's role and performance as Red Ghost has been removed from the Fantastic Four, which opens this week. Phew, did we miss anything?
Inevitably, we missed something with the sheer amount of news that happened this week. I'm sure we missed something, and our listeners will be quick to let us know what we missed here. But I want to start with the Kevin Feige tell-all, and I kind of want to acknowledge how dense the amount of information coming out of this roundtable really is. And we were talking a little bit off air about the various outlets that participated and how they could all have different anecdotes and takes. But I'll let Bill speak on that with a little more eloquence, having participated in some of these roundtables. But my takeaway really was, like, I read this as kind of Kevin Feige taking a page out of the James Gunn book of PR for better and for worse. And I feel like this was, we can really only scratch the surface or the tip of the iceberg of everything that he said, but it really did feel like to me like it was a direct response not only to the success of Superman, but also some of James Gunn's criticisms of the Marvel method. So with that in mind, I think far and away the thing that he said that stuck out to me was the reset that he's referring to here, because we've been talking at length about how come Secret Wars being, going on 37 films into this franchise, it only makes sense that there's going to be some version of a reboot, whether that's a hard reboot or a soft reboot. And we've all kind of, I think, operated under the assumption that a soft reboot is a foregone conclusion. And particularly his comments about recasting the X-Men, I think that's kind of a no-brainer. That comes as expected. But again, I can't give you the exact quote given the number of outlets that are all reporting on this, but I know I read or heard somewhere along the lines that he had direct comments about recasting classic characters like Tony Stark and Steve Rogers. And that's the first time we've heard anything like that. And that is kind of like, I'm not going to call it sacrilege, but in terms of like the MCU being this ongoing story, this would be a total divergence from this for better or for worse. So with that in mind, I think that was kind of the most valuable thing from his comments. Some of the other things I kind of like, yeah, we kind of already knew that. And some of it actually kind of came across as a little bit smug to me. Like I said, some of it kind of read like James Gunn to me. Like he was asked like about, hey, what about characters like Clea or Hercules or some of the other ones? And he like, again, I'm, someone else's take on this, but my understanding was that he kind of like laughed at and said, do you want to see those characters again? And they were like, well, yeah, you set him up. We want to see him again. You can't just like leave that hanging out there. And he said something like, ask me again in 12 years. Like we saw Tim Blake Nelson come back after like 17 years. So ask me about these characters again in 12 years there. Apart from that, he talked a lot about the oversaturation. I felt like it was a little bit of a case of like a broken record. We've been hearing so much about, hey, we're going to be scaling back, going to 2-3 movies a year going forward, but I'm just kind of ready to like stop talking about that and let's see the proof in the pudding. Let's see when that actually takes effect and goes into action here. So I will address the John Malkovich piece just a little bit here. I have to imagine we talked a little bit about when they had test screenings maybe a couple of months ago. It felt like it was at the beginning of the summer. And I remember noting that the runtime for the movie was like 2 hours and 6 minutes, 7 minutes, and now it's down to 1 hour and 55 minutes. So I just have to imagine if you take a character like, or an actor like John Malkovich, who is so recognizable, if his role was limited to something that was just in the beginning of the film, I could see how with casual audience, they were like, well, why was he in the movie? What if he was just going to show up in the beginning and not be a part? That could actually kind of confuse people and mess with their overall reception. So if that's the case, which I hope it is, I just hope I come out of this thing not kind of wondering or hoping like, what if they had kept him in there? What if they had included him? So we'll see.
I can speak to this as someone who saw First Steps last night.
Okay.
I think you're correct in terms of assuming where Malkovich would have fit in the proceedings, and it probably did have that effect on test audiences. It's unfortunate because I just would have loved to see that regardless, especially the glimpse that we got of him in the trailer. Looked cool and scraggly and, red ghosty and all that. But, and ironically, the Red Ghost is still mentioned in the finished film, but yeah, we do not see him at all. So, yeah, I think that you're right, Scotty, that if we had gotten just like 2 seconds of Malkovich, it probably would have given a false expectation of like, where's John Malkovich this entire time? Sure. I think they were probably thinking of it as a cool inclusion, and hey, if you're going to go big or go home, if you're going to cast a character, why not go for, a great actor? But I do think that maybe they want to like, hopefully hold on to him for something maybe more substantial down the line. We'll see.
Absolutely.
This was Marvel's State of Marvel that we've been waiting for. You can have Brad Winderbaum out there all he wants talking about Marvel TV, but until the architect of the universe comes out and says, this is what is, everything's up for grabs, right? That's kind of how we've always felt for the last probably 3 years, reading these things and Feige doesn't do this. Feige doesn't do big interviews because it's just not, and for better or worse, right? You know how I feel about the way James Gunn spouts off. Feige takes the opposite approach. There's probably somewhere in the middle they could both meet, but they don't, and that's okay. It's interesting that you took it that way, Scotty, that he said, I took it as like he's seen all the backlash from phase whatever, and I took it more as like do you want to see them? Like, I don't know what you know, that's kind of how I read that quote of him about Clea and stuff like that, because he's probably trying to suss, like, what do people want? I think the important thing on the John Malkovich...
His focus grouping in that moment, like to that small group, like, do you guys, is that a thing?
Like,
you guys,
is that something you want? It felt like a test, like a focus group, like, do you want that? Sure. And the John Malkovich thing, like, he is emphatic in the article the Variety did about wanting Fantastic Four First Steps to be something anybody could come see. And so for that reason, and the ones you said, I think that does make sense. And I agree with Bill. I hope they bring him back into the universe some other way. I'm sure there's myriad ways they can bring a character like that in. So it's there, to me, same thing, like nothing ultra surprising in here. I'm always going to pat myself on the back about the X-Men. Everybody wanted them right away. And I was like, y'all, that's going to be at least 10 years. You have to wait. And I think the Blade thing is really important too, because that movie is important to Kevin Feige. And so him, like, he really went hard on that, on Fantastic Four, and on the future of the franchise. And so I thought it was a good, hey, we're not going to be at San Diego, but this movie, Fantastic Four, we're hanging a lot on. And so here's my spiel for everybody before it comes out. And then we won't hear from him for another, like 6 years.
I took this whole sit down differently, I guess. I think, yes, it's obviously... everything he's saying is a response to the last 5 years of turmoil. It's also a, taking the Superman moment to sort of be like, hey, look, we're still doing stuff over here. But I think it's just trying to get the mic before Comic-Con and be like, watch the entire internet. It's the week of Comic-Con, and the entire internet is going to be full of 15 different little stories about Marvel, and it's just going to be Marvel, 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 Marvel. And they're not even there, and they're going to get all the traction this week leading up to Fantastic Four, I think. We're just going to get a lot of buzz around Marvel things because of this interview, and I think that's smart. And to be truthful, I don't think there's much here. Like, there's obviously a lot of little tidbits, but like most of the tidbits kind of felt like foregone conclusions or things we had either like assumed, or was like we knew it was kind of a 50-50 shot. Like, he kind of narrowed things down, and a lot of the stuff, it was still sort of like, yeah, we want to do that, but we don't, maybe we will, maybe we won't. Like, it just feels very like grab headlines, because everyone, when Marvel puts out a thing, it gets headlines, and they're trying to get the conversation focused on Marvel, right, leading into Fantastic Four, and get people kind of excited about the Marvel universe again. And I think in whatever way they can, because they made a great movie with Thunderbolts, but it did not do the numbers they wanted to. And I think they're just trying to do what they can to like get eyeballs toward Fantastic Four this week, and see if they can, match or beat the Superman.
And that's one of the things I find to be the most particularly interesting about these comments. I'm kind of with you. I think a lot of it is foregone conclusions, or just kind of trying to create headlines where there's not really that much there. But the filmmaking aspect of it, how we have one universe that, built the formula, built the template for it. And now, going on 20 years into it, it's starting to wane under the weight of that a little bit. Meanwhile, we have Superman launching this fresh one that can be a little more live. And even, some of Feige's acknowledgments about, I think he mentioned Mr. Terrific specific. It's like, hey, you don't know who he is in this movie? You'll learn. You'll catch up. You'll figure it out. So it's just interesting, given the fact that James Gunn came from Marvel. He was their golden boy for a little bit, and then what happened in 2017 with his firing to come back. And it's kind of like, I do get the sense that he and Kevin Feige are filmmakers that respect each other, but I really feel like this competition that we call it is kind of like coming to a head between these two guys. As much as they respect each other, I feel like there are a lot of shots being fired on both sides that are cagey, for lack of a better term. Yeah.
There's definitely a little defensiveness with James Gunn talking so strongly about how he needs a finished script, and he wants the script to be really well done before he starts. There's a great line in the interview where Feige says, you can make great movies with a script that's not fully finished, and then you flesh it out as you go. That's a great way to make movies, because that's how they've made so many of their movies.
We're doing it right now.
He's like, we're doing it all over the place. We've done it for 20 years. But then he says, we didn't want to do that to Blade, kind of implying there's a negative to that there is a trade-off there that you need, and I think there is. I think there is inherently a trade-off between like planning ahead and having a really solid script that you don't want to veer away from, and feeling beholden to it, versus having the flexibility to grow with the performances and see where things go and collaborate with the actors. And there's a lot of like Iron Man, the first Iron Man movie, they talk about how like there was almost no script, and Jeff Bridges has talked about how like they would go in their trailer and they knew what has to happen in the scene, and it would just be like them improvising the scene, and then they'd find it and they'd be like, that's the scene, let's go film it. like they were kind of writing the movie as actors as they went, which is an interesting and cool way to make a movie. And it came out with Iron Man, which launched this whole thing. So, you know, there's different ways to do it, you know?
It takes a village to make these movies, and it's interesting how people can just take such varied approaches to it. Because like on the one hand, we have this very collaborative effort on the Marvel Studios lot, but then you hear from like Christopher Nolan, like apparently he didn't let people sit down on his set, like, and then obviously James Cameron has control over every aspect of his set, but that obviously does not work for everybody. You hear a lot of backlash from there. Well, Cameron in particular, less so than Nolan, but yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, any other thoughts about this Kevin Feige? I feel like there's so much that it's hard to even like narrow down one thing to talk about.
Draw your own conclusions.
Yeah, go read the article. It's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
I don't even know if we said, but yeah, he confirmed they're still working on Blade with Mahershala Ali, but they're waiting on a script, like we mentioned, and they did confirm that that's modern day, which we kind of assumed already, because I think they talked about it being a period piece, and then they shifted away from that, which kind of implies modern day, but I guess it could have been a different period piece. But yeah. All right, well, let's move on to our next story. Superman continues to live up to its name when it comes to its performance, as the superhero flick passed $409 million at the global box office in its second weekend of release. The $58 million second weekend, which is a respectable 54% drop from the opening weekend, is in keeping with 2024's Deadpool and Wolverine and bodes favorably compared to other recent releases from the comic book genre. Plus, coupled with other wins like a Minecraft movie and Sinners, the latest success has helped Warner Bros. Become 2025's top-earning studio with $1.32 billion in ticket sales. In other news, Variety confirmed Supergirl writer Anna Nogueira has been tapped to pen the Wonder Woman reboot for the DCU, in addition to being attached to a live-action Teen Titans project for the studio. Are we looking up, out, and elsewhere when it comes to the future of the DCU?
We're looking everywhere, man. I have been lucky enough to be in on the journalistic ground floor of the DCU this past year. I was invited as a representative of Slash Film to be part of, James Gunn's sort of State of the DCU and Peter Safran, which they did on the Warner's lot a few months ago. And it's been very interesting to see the mood change, because as we know from recent history, the DC cinematic universe has taken a few hits. It's taken a few, roller coaster rides up and down in terms of not just box office, but direction. What do they want to do with themselves? And for a while there, Mr. Dwayne Johnson was very hard-handedly attempting to take the reins, and that did not pan out. And I think that Gunn and Safran, despite the big brouhaha about their announcement as, co-chairman of DC Studios going forward and having this kind of, new plan for the characters and the franchise, the universe, what have you, it was all, like we were just saying about Kevin Feige, it was all, speculation. It's like we won't know until we see it, sort of thing. And I think Superman, one of the cool things about it is that finally we have something to look at, we have something to respond to and say, it's going to be something kind of like this. Not in terms of every movie's going to look like that or feel like that, but just the idea that, okay, we can introduce characters like Mr. Terrific or Guy Gardner or whatever and have it just be part of this already existing universe. We're not necessarily going to need to or want to do a solo film, and then a team film. There's rumblings I know about whatever the next move is past Supergirl, whether it's going to be a team movie or a team up movie or some other kind of variation on that. We know Clayface is coming down the line, and I know that there's been a lot of this is a really silly term, but I think it's probably applicable, partisan responses to the box office of Superman in terms of how you want to view it. But in my own personal opinion, I think that just weighing it against the state of the industry as a whole right now, and I do mean the movie industry, not just, comic book movies by themselves, I think it's pretty positive. I think it does, speak to how that movie makes strong choices and has gotten people involved, whether negative or positive, in terms of their response to it. And, it's got a little bit of that buzz going. And I think what you said also about the rest of Warner Brothers' slate this past year with Minecraft and Sinners and even F1 a little bit, they have at least continued to commit themselves, which of course, these decisions were made a year ago, but their continued commitment to, backing filmmakers, backing original stories as much as possible, backing large format. Obviously so much of Sinners really came from Ryan Coogler's video about like, here's all the formats you can see Sinners in, and especially there's this one and there's this one, and then that idea, that excitement about going to the theaters and that sort of thing has really helped. Obviously there's a large format push and people getting excited about film for IMAX, and just the visual opportunities that a character like Superman can and did present. So yeah, I think that the DCU's future is maybe just as much in flux as Marvel, even maybe a little more so, because again, we only have one movie really to officially call, part of it. So we can't say, oh, it's going to be like this, this, and this. We know Supergirl is, all but locked. We have Clayface coming along pretty swiftly behind her. But yeah, if these things go the way that they're talking about them going, it's potentially possible that these movies are going to have more of their own identity than a quote-unquote Marvel house style. And who knows what that effect is going to have on the rest of the DCU. I'm not sure. I think it's a little too early to say, but I know that I myself am excited about the possibilities.
I'll hone in on the news about Anna Nogueira joining Wonder Woman as the writer here. And I look at everything else she's already participating in the DCU. She just wrote Supergirl, so I think this is clearly a vote of confidence and speaks to some real compatibility she has with Gunn in terms of he's got the overarching vision. He kind of puts out, hey, I want to hit these beats with this character. Help me get there. And I don't know a ton about Anna Nogueira. I think she just kind of recently came on the scene as a writer, and the DCU has kind of been the bulk of her credits so far. I think she did like a play and maybe a couple of TV shows, but I think she was an actor largely prior to that. So yeah, so in a best case scenario, I'm hoping this is not her, being a real pushover to him and letting him, run all over her. We'll see when Supergirl comes out how much of his influence we feel on that. But I'm hopeful and optimistic that he's selected a writer that he just has a lot of compatibility with. And so I look at this and I'm extrapolating a lot. I'm reaching a lot, but I look at the DCU in this fledgling state, and I'm looking at her, and I think she's kind of threading the needle, and I think she is effectively being our Marcus and McFeely that we had for the MCU, that were laying the groundwork for the through line of the MCU. Like, we had other writers working on the solo stories, but in terms of like the through line with the Avengers and the Infinity Stones, that was all Marcus and McFeely. So I have a sense that Nogueira is doing a similar thing here. So all that being said, I do find the timing interesting, because with Gunn, being on the horn as often as he is and commenting as frequently as he does, it was just a couple of days ago that he was saying Wonder Woman is a priority, but that the film wasn't being fast-tracked. And now that we have a writer, it kind of feels like it's being fast-tracked. Just me, but it feels like it's being fast-tracked. So with that in mind, the next question is, how soon do we get a director? And if so, do we have any names that come to mind? Anybody that we think would be a good fit? And then the next logical question for me is, when will we get an actor? Will we get the actor before the director? How much of an influence will Gunn have on that? Because he cast Millie Alcock. We don't know what kind of level involvement Craig Gillespie, who's directing Supergirl, had in that choice. I wonder if it'll be a similar case for Wonder Woman and the director of that film. And I can't not talk about Wonder Woman without putting my fan cast out there. Monica Barbaro. I've seen a lot of buzz for Adria Arjona, who I would not be mad at. Obviously, she's very talented. I think she could bring the physicality, but I would really, really like to see Monica Barbaro. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I love that choice.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. Everything you say about Anna Nogueira. I haven't seen anything that she's done, so I can't speak to her abilities. But it's really interesting to see Gunn picking sort of a stable of people that he's going to be using, and it's just, in general, I'm just fascinated about how the DCU is going to be built out and how different. I can't help but constantly compare it to the MCU and how that was built out and how different that's going to be both behind the camera and in front of it and what we see and everything y'all have been saying. Basically, I find it all really, really fascinating, and it's really cool that it's on track with what Deadpool and Wolverine did. I imagine when Fantastic Four hits, that's going to probably hurt it. Maybe it'll hurt it, and maybe we'll see it recover. I don't know. I don't remember what Deadpool and Wolverine had right after it, but I can't imagine there was something so, I don't know, perfectly in the same vein. These two movies just feel so direct competitors to me.
I'm a terrible box office prognosticator, so don't take this with a grain of salt. However, just as someone who's seen both movies, I think that there's a possibility that
brag.
not a Barbenheimer, but the idea that somebody might want to see both Fantastic Four and Superman either the same weekend or within pretty close proximity to each other is high, because I think both movies do have a very similar mood. I won't even say tone, but I do think that they complement each other in that way, and I think that it's possible that both could see a boost. I don't know.
That would be great. I mean, part of the problem with COVID and 2020 is it just trained people to stay home. And if you get people out to see a movie and they really enjoy it, and just having two different movies that are so up your alley, I could totally see kind of getting in a rhythm of like, well, I could kind of go to the movies again tonight, and I've got a different movie to see, even though I've seen them both. Maybe I'll go alternate a couple of times. I could see that really boosting the views for sure. Just getting used to going to the theater again,
Which one has the better popcorn bucket, though?
Galactus bucket's pretty cool.
It's like a really tall. It's really tall, right?
Yeah, the big gigantic one. I need more from the DCU before I feel like I can judge it. I'll be the voice of Superman didn't hit for me the way it hit for a lot of people, which I'm super happy for all those people that absolutely loved it. I just had some issues with it as a film, but it's fun. I want to see the things that I'm looking forward to in the DC, like Lanterns and the Clayface movie. And are those going to be the genre, Marvel did genres too. They didn't just do crowd-pleasing movies. They did both. And can DCU do the same thing? That's what they're doing. They're doing horror. They're doing detective. They're doing the same thing, but they're going to do it differently. They're going to do it with that James Gunn flair. So I'm just kind of treading water with DCU right now. I need to see more.
It seems like that, you're talking about how they're doing different things. Marvel did different genres, but it all, to me, still fell within a range of Marvel tone. I feel like things like, and this is, the old guard, but the Joker obviously stepped way away from other superhero style movies. And I feel like Clayface is kind of shaping up to do a similar thing where it's like, that seems like they're really shaping up and shaping itself up. Into something really horror, which, I mean, you could say Multiverse of Madness is horror, has some horror elements, has a horror director, but like it's not hardcore horror. But I could see a Clayface movie being like really horrific and interesting in that way. And I feel like James Gunn is letting his creatives do their thing a little more so than maybe the MCU did back in its heyday.
Well, that does bring to mind, just to bring it back to Wonder Woman for a second, because before this film became fast-tracked in the way that it has, the Wonder Woman project that we knew was in the works was the Themyscira TV series. I think it's called Paradise Lost. And with, Clayface being rated R, I think we don't know a lot about that series. I don't even know if it's still being worked on. It hasn't been like officially canceled or anything like that. But what I do remember hearing about it, that it was going to be like a much more hardcore take on Themyscira and the Amazonians,
I think.
Amazons. I think Amazonians are the people that work at Amazon.
There we go.
That's the dividing line. Yeah.
Yeah, one gets to, fly over Themyscira, the other can't go to the bathroom. So
yeah. Their weapon of choice is the bottle full of pee. Yeah.
We're talking about the potential for genre spanning within the DCU. We may see that with characters. We may see, she's this tone in the movies. she's this tone in the TV series, which actually, it looks like the MCU might be leaning in that direction too. I heard a little bit about the Punisher series, the special presentation. Apparently, like the tone in Brand New Day, which again, kind of a foregone conclusion. You're going to have a PG-13 rated version of the Punisher for that film, right, versus his other appearances. So
that is a tone shift for sure. Trying to go from a Punisher standalone to a Spider-Man movie. All right. By the way, I really want to hear more. I know we've got to move on because I really want to hear. I don't know if you can talk, Bill, yet about Fantastic Four. Can you talk about Fantastic Four in very vague tones or no?
I can. Yeah. I mean, if you guys want to know anything, but I'm not here to be.
Don't want to know any spoilers, of course. Just curious what you. Just curious what your.
The thing I was going to say, since you opened the floor anyway, is that what I'm hoping for from the DCU is a continuing personal touch that I felt in Superman. Because, as we've said, there's obviously a positive, negative response to the choices that's being made in there. I was just very excited to see those choices being made at all.
Yeah.
And it's something that I've felt very lacking from recent Marvel products. And unfortunately, Fantastic Four kind of falls in line with that. I think it's a beautiful movie looking, visually. It's something that maybe you haven't gone to see a movie in a 3D in a while, but I think this would actually look great in 3D. I did not see it that way. But, there's some stuff when I can't give spoilers. So
yeah, no, we don't want that.
Yeah, there's some cool stuff to see in it.
Sweet.
And I really appreciate because I'll say this because it's from the trailer, the visual aesthetic that they give the entire film in terms of what Earth. I do not remember the name of the Earth. Yes, thank you. A28.
That's what I'm here for.
Thank you.
He has all the
Earths.
Earths
On screen for 2 seconds, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll remember that, and then I don't remember. Yeah, the visual aesthetic they give to 828 is obviously very retro 60s. I'm not entirely sure if they intend 828 to be an Earth that's perpetually in the 60s, because it never gives us a year. We just kind of assume it's the early 60s.
Okay.
So maybe it's actually like 1995, and the Earth has just decided to look like the 60s for the last 20 years. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah, that's kind of what I was guessing from the content, because the technology is so different. I was assuming it was like retrofuturism 60s, that like that's actually the way the future went. You know what I mean? Like
I don't know if that's
maybe it's 2025. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't quite say what year it is unless I missed it. Because it is a very fast-moving movie. Giacchino, great score, and the dude is just like plowing away in a way that's not dissimilar from some classic Hollywood films. Not even of the 60s, but like even earlier, like the 40s and the 50s, where you'd have just underscore under almost every scene. Just kind of for giving it a bed of like something to keep the pace up and that sort of idea. So yeah, I think that, and generally I'd say the reactions so far are pretty favorable. I think people are really responding to just, again, that tone that's in there. This isn't dark and gritty, or, if you were someone who found Thunderbolts like too in its feels, this is something that's like, not the opposite of that, but something where it's like, this is about a family that like, lives together all the time and they love each other genuinely. And like, they have their differences, yes, but they're more sitcom level differences. Nobody's having like a fight in this movie, that sort of thing, with each other because they got bigger problems. I'll continue to focus on the positive. I was really impressed with Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards. He does something with the role that I think no other Reed Richards has done before, but it's not a showy thing. It's just something that he brings, a quality that he brings to the character that kind of made me click with Reed Richards in a way that I have not in filmed media. On the page, yes, but in film media, I haven't before. I'm really excited to see where he goes, depending on how far he's able to go. I don't know if this reboot upcoming after Secret Wars is going to retcon him too, or if they're going to keep him around or not. But yeah, hopefully he'll get to show us more sides of Reed as it continues. And there's a lot to like in Fantastic Four, I think.
Sweet. Thank you so much. That was very generous of a review, basically, and without spoiling anything. I appreciate that.
And everybody dies.
And everybody dies. Sweet. Good to know. Good to know.
For real too. And they're like, just a big like Fantastic Four will not return. Yeah.
We got you. We got you to watch a movie that isn't connected at all.
No, the end credits is just a big scroll. It's like you didn't actually have to see this movie if you wanted to know what's going on in the MCU, because nothing matters. It just doesn't happen again. Like they're just dead forever.
Love it. I love it. All right. Well, let's get into our next little piece here. We just got lots of trailers this week, so we're just going to run down these trailers real fast, and anybody that wants to comment quickly on them, go for it. We got Alien Earth. What did you guys think of the new Alien Earth trailer?
It looks great, but I want to hold off on it a little bit because I feel like it's been out for the better part of a week. I continue to be very impressed with what I'm seeing on display and just very excited to see this franchise go to a place that it's never been on Earth, given the title there. But I'm particularly excited to talk about the next trailer and the potential for crossover there, because Alien versus Predator, I mean, it's a very storied crossover franchise there. And, I'm not ready to say that Dan Trachtenberg, his take on Prey and Predator Badlands here, if it's going to feed into what Noah Hawley's doing. But I was particularly excited to see in Badlands. It looks like, I don't think they name who the enemy villains are, but they seem like they're very of the ilk of like the Weyland-Yutani corporation. So I think there's some interesting synergy happening there.
Well, you jumped and took my take for the next trailer, Scotty. Why?
That's what I do.
No, Alien Earth trailer. I thought oddly, as much as I love Noah Hawley, and I found this particular trailer, and I think it's just because they're trying not to show us anything. It was mostly mood. There's like 4 lines of dialogue. It felt very cold to me, which maybe that's the thing with an Alien movie. You need that sort of tone, but I kind of expect, because of who Noah Hawley is, the characters to be very rich and warm, and I want that. I want to like really care about these characters. And from the one character we're getting a sense is maybe the protagonist, seems like she's going to have a lot to do, a lot emotionally going on, like who is she, what's a robot person, all that stuff. I love that kind of content, so I'm here for that. But the other characters seem just very cold, and I don't know. I'm excited to see how Noah Hawley puts kind of skin on that world.
I would assume that Hawley's going a little bit more Legion than Fargo here.
Oh sure.
And I do get the sense just from buzz about little log lines about what the series is concerning, because I don't have any insider information on this yet. There are screeners starting to leak out to sites. Ours is still trying to get them. FX, if you're listening to this, please come on, man, let me see it.
Yeah, me too.
But me first.
Me too.
I think that this might be Noah's version of if he had made Prometheus or Covenant. It's sort of idea of because there's, I think on the timeline it's somewhere in that range.
It's
right?
prequelish, right? To the original Alien.
Yeah. So, I'm hesitantly optimistic. I definitely don't get as much of a sense from these trailers so far about what even this thing is going to be, more than say the Badlands trailer, where it's like, oh, I'm picking up what he's putting down, and it's like, hell yeah, bring it on,
Yeah. I thought it was interesting what you said, Matt, about the Alien Earth trailer again, because I'm going to continue to make the comparisons here, even if they shouldn't be made. But the way you described the main character, who we know to be some kind of android or hybrid, one of the first androids, it's interesting to compare that to Elle Fanning, who is bringing all the warmth and heart and humor to the Predator Badlands trailer. And I really came away with the sense, I was reminded of a couple of my favorite samurai animated properties, Samurai Jack and Afro Samurai, where they're these very stoic characters on a mission that's a very brutal mission, but you often have like a character off to the side that can kind of be their voice or the audience proxy, and kind of say and comment on the ridiculous things that are happening. So I think it looks like it's going to strike a really fun balance.
Yeah, when you got that stoic warrior type, you kind of need the character who's commenting on that all the time, and just to bring life to it. And Predator Badlands, we've already been talking about it, but that was the next trailer on the list here. And to touch on what you were talking about, Scotty, the connection between the world of Alien and this Predator Badlands trailer seems really obvious to me. The way that mech suit was fighting or whatever in that one moment, I was like, that looks like a squat version of the one from Aliens. Like that looks so much like a Weyland
Power
Yutani.
loader. Yeah, no, they're not trying to hide the connection at all anymore.
Oh yeah,
they're definitely not. Yeah, but I don't think what I think that means is that we're not going to necessarily see a xenomorph in Badlands. I don't think
Sure.
I don't think we're going to go that hard that quickly. I think that they're trying to seed it through in a more anticipatory way. I do think that it may be the next movie, it may not be, but I do think that it's a promise that they're going there, they're blending these universes as they have been blended for 25 years or so. So yeah, this isn't new territory in that way per se, but I do think what's exciting about it is just Trachtenberg's track record of Prey and Killer of Killers, and then this just being very high concept and inventive with the properties, and even Romulus. Despite it being a little bit more slavish to the Alien franchise in terms of its callbacks and Easter eggs and whatnot, I think even there you saw some innovation. Just little riffs on what sort of other stuff haven't we not yet seen, and what other things could we do, and the fact that between Earth and Romulus and whatever's next, like we do have a very fluid timeline. We're not necessarily going to say the next one is going to take place post Resurrection for sure. It's going to take place between Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection. Like we don't know. Like it could be any of them or none of them. So it's up in the air, and I think that's exciting.
100%. And to expound on what you're saying, I think that's exactly right. Why it's so exciting is how beloved Prey and Killer of Killers has been, and then to combine that with, we haven't seen it yet, but Noah Hawley, who I just love everything he's done, like tackling the other property, and like the idea that those two could so easily merge and have such a I don't know, modern take and an interesting and different take on those universes, and then they're heading to, just seems like they're on a collision course. That sounds like a lot of fun in a very organic way. It doesn't feel like a force the studios are pushing them together. It just feels like
franchise going to franchise.
Yeah, franchise going to franchise. I love that. All right, next we had Tron Ares. Anybody?
All right, I gotta talk about this.
Yeah.
I'm upset as all get out, y'all. 'Cause I am a Tron diehard. I fell in love with the original movie because my dad was in love with it, because my father used to work with computer systems in pulmonary or not pulmonary, physician sort of spaces. He was basically trying to sell hospitals on changing their filing systems from literal hand-drawn files to put them in the computer, and then you can type it up and you can have it access to it wherever you go, sort of thing. A thing which took a long time for them to adapt, because hospitals were, set in their ways for decades and decades. So yeah, he was a big computer guy back in the day, and so Tron was like, not like the end-all be-all for him, but like it was a big deal for him, because it was one of the first movies to really posit the idea that computers are going to be a big part of everyone's lives going forward, and we have the potential to turn them into these beautiful tools of magic, and information, and information should be free, and everybody should have access to it, and we're going to have whole religions. What's funny about Tron is like everything positive it was, predicting did come true, but in a very negative way.
Sure.
but the movie still exists as a sort of, idealistic version of like what computerized technology and society could be if we just believe in it, and are better people.
The entirety of the internet feels like a monkey's paw bargain that the entire society went through.
Yeah. And of course, just how Tron like also was so important to the cinematic development of visual effects, for the cinema, and being able to create them with computers and computer technology and that sort of thing. And so I was a huge fan of Tron Legacy as well, because that was Joe Kosinski coming onto the scene in a big way. And of course the Daft Punk score, which everybody loves, rightfully so, because it's amazing. And so this movie was something that I was so sad to see fall apart when it was back when it was a Tron Legacy direct sequel, and Kosinski was going to come back, and Garrett Hedlund was going to come back, and Olivia Wilde was going to come back, and blah, blah, blah. Maybe we were going to get Cillian Murphy as, the young Dillinger and all that. So that fell apart. But we got Top Gun Maverick out of it. So, hey.
Sure.
And so this, I think, is, for me, it's a I can't think of the term. There's a cultural term that I'm trying to think of right now. Double-edged sword, I guess, is what I'll use. Because it looks amazing. It sounds amazing. The concept of, what if we just reversed, the Tron gimmick of humans going to the computer comes out, to us in the real world. cool. Let's see it. You know where I'm going with this. The problem is the actor that this movie is centered around.
Sure.
Because even setting aside his sex pest reputation, which is a large thing to set aside, I don't think that he's got any sort of juice for me. I don't recall any performance of his that was so indelible that I'm like, oh, nobody else could have played that part as well, And I think the things that he's been good in, he's been good because the movie around him has been great.
Sure.
And he also has typically not been the central role. And I think one of the reasons Morbius was Morbius is the fact that when you have that gentleman as Morbius, it's hard to care. And I think, unfortunately, because Tron Ares is clearly about this Ares character who he's playing, and this latest trailer pretty much spells out the idea that he's this anti-hero type who is like almost a Pinocchio kind of, I want to be a real boy kind of guy. I already don't care. And that's unfortunate for somebody who's a big Tron fan like myself.
That sucks, man.
Yeah. I'm hoping they're misleading us with that, because much like you, Jared Leto is the albatross hanging around the neck of this movie, the scarlet letter that is marking this movie. But my hope all along the way was that, okay, if they're going to cast him, let's utilize him in a way that makes sense. Like, I go back to Blade Runner 2049, and to your point, Bill, that's a great movie around him. And the role that he served worked because he was kind of a lifeless, unscrupulous kind of, guy. So with Tron Ares, my hope is, even though to your point, they are kind of taking it in the Pinocchio direction, I'm hoping that's a little bit of a mislead, and that he ultimately will be just this antagonist for the film. And, just kind of be, because again, I can't really say anything that's going to make me super excited about his involvement in the movie, but just use him in the right way. If you're going to make him like a blank slate, make him the computer program come to life, like Clue. Yeah, Clue in the original film, right? Yeah. Do something like that, and then I think it's salvageable. But I will say, everything else I'm seeing, I think looks amazing. The visuals look amazing. You talk about Tron Legacy with Daft Punk. It's great to have Nine Inch Nails coming into the proceeding. I'm a massive Greta Lee fan coming off of Past Lives. So, I'm struggling for the guy's name. Evan Peters stepping into the role, like the opening monologue that he gave. It all seems like it's great stuff on display. So I'm just hoping it's a case that like everything that is working for this movie can work against the one thing that's working against it. And that's me being very hopeful and optimistic. And I just hope that this movie doesn't the story hasn't already been written because of his involvement. Yeah.
All right, Stranger Things season 5.
Looks like a Stranger Thing.
Didn't watch it. Not the Stranger Things guy. Sorry.
Yeah, it's funny because I know that a lot of us are making our little jokes about, aren't they 40 now and all that. And it is, just the quirks of Netflix and their schedules and the way that this series has gone. Yes, it is pretty funny that we're somehow still in the 1980s and these kids are not kids anymore. But I have always been ultimately pleased at the end of the day with every season of Stranger Things.
Same.
I think that, for all of their derivativeness, the Duffers, Sean Levy, whoever else works on these, shows, manages to find something that's really just generally pleasing, crowd pleasing about this idea, this concept, these characters. So as long as the quote unquote magic, between these castmates and whatever, plot twists they have up their sleeve hasn't gone away, I think this is probably going to be just as good as those other ones,
Yeah. I hope you're right. My fear is that you get, I hope the Duffer brothers learn the lessons of the guys who made Game of Thrones. You got to land the plane in your big property that broke you out. You got to land it well, and then you get to go on and make whatever else you want. Like I think I've really enjoyed every season of the show, and they do. Every season, I find myself like, I'm going to sit down and watch this show that like my niece likes or whatever. Like I've got to feel like it's this kid show, and by the end, I'm like wrapped. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. And I'm into it by the end of the season. It really gets me every time. And so I'm all in for another season, ready to go. And I thought the release strategy is interesting. They're doing Volume 1 in November, Volume 2 in Christmas, and then the finale on New Year's Eve. So 3 different days, which I enjoy all this kind of playing with release strategies and seeing what happens, because I don't like to drop all at once strategy. Sometimes week by week is too long for a season, and I think kind of, spacing it out over 1 month and a half, maybe that's a good, interesting way to try.
Yeah, it's something that Netflix has been doing with all their high-profile shows. I think Wednesday's going to have the same thing, too, when it premieres in a couple weeks.
It's smart.
Yeah, so we'll see. Obviously, they want to hit that holiday season vibe of like, oh, you're home anyway. Why not sit down and watch Stranger Things? So, we'll see if it works out for them.
And there's enough crossover appeal that you can sit around and watch it with the family, is, I think, the idea, too. Okay, Mortal Kombat 2.
I have to say, first off, did you all see the fake Johnny Cage trailer that they made? It's so rad.
No, I didn't see it.
I'm absolutely picking up what Carl Urban's putting down as Johnny Cage. Love him in that role. Love what he's doing already. I am one of the rare fans of that first Mortal Kombat that dropped in 2021.
Yes, 2021. Yeah.
And I know that it wasn't pleasing to everybody. I am not somebody who necessarily feels like, oh, we have to have a tournament in the movie. Like, it was fine. There was fighting, and it's like, okay,
sure,
as long as there's fighting in the Mortal Kombat movie, I'm good. And I really loved Hiroyuki Sanada as his character. And I'm already forgetting the name because I didn't play. No. He was one. He was Scorpion, right?
Oh yeah. He's Scorpion. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. So, yeah. No. I think that these movies seem to be leaning on the action choreography, the physicality of the characters, and even though this one looks to go into a more otherworld space with wherever they happen to be transported to this time, I'm down. It's really just the Johnny Cage of it all for me that I'm like, I'm already sold, so I'm good.
Yeah, that was kind of my take too. Coming off of Tron Ares, I feel like Carl Urban is just the antithesis to Jared Leto. It's like you put Carl Urban in something, he's going to deliver, and he just gets me excited. And it just shows his range too, because I think about him being Bones in Star Trek, and then he's doing something very different with Butcher and the Boys. But this is he's doing it, and it looks great, and I can't wait to see it. I thought the first movie was just okay. Like, I had a good time with it. It wasn't anything to write home about, but this definitely gets me more excited for this movie and the future for the franchise if he's going to be a part of it.
I guess I'm a bit of a hater when it comes to this. I have not seen the 2021 movie, so I can't really even comment on the quality, but the trailer, the reason I didn't see it is because I'm not interested in this universe, but also it looks super cheesy to me. The trailers for the first one did, and this one, everything looks super cheesy to me except Carl Urban. And I'm like, I don't know if you can save this for me. I don't know if you can convince me, Carl Urban, to go watch the first one and watch this one, because even I don't know that you can save this one for me, because it just, like, literally every other character's lines as they were reading them, I was like, that sounds like video game acting to me, which, like, maybe they're going for it. They're going for the big, yeah, exactly. That's fine. But like, I kind of want, when I expect video game adaptations to adapt to the format that they're making and feel a little more real.
I will say, I think part of it for me is the fact that Mortal Kombat, although obviously a formative game for me growing up, it was never a serious game in the way that The Last of Us is,
right?
The way that, there's such a story here that we have to really be true to, and these characters that we have to get right. No, come on, just kill each other in gruesome ways, and
it's all about the fatalities.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think that the bar was very, very low by I'm a fan, but Paul W.S. Anderson's first film, and then certainly in Mortal Kombat Annihilation, which famously went into theaters unfinished. So yeah,
that's right. Yeah, now those I saw. I was very young, and those I was into. I knew they were bad at the time, but I still really enjoyed them.
Hey, and I think that's valid.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we're going to get into our lightning round after this quick break. We've got Nintendo cast its live-action Zelda and Link, Beyond Spider-Verse delayed even more, Nolan's The Odyssey, tickets on sale a year in advance, and much more. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Multiverse News. We'd like to have a Patreon, you guys. You can support the podcast. We talked about it earlier in the show. Like, maybe we'll get to make more content. Maybe we'll go to twice a week if the patron dollars roll in. And to tell us about the Patreon, Haley Hobbs, tell us about it.
Well, you've got to save Matt's voice, people. You've got to go to patreon.com/multiverse newscast so he can do multiverse news the right way. Because, we need the support. We need the help. We need the love. And it's just $4 a month. It's less than $1 a show. And we put a lot of work into this show. So go over there to hear all of our dulcet tones ad-free. You get the live streams after we're done recording them because they go away from YouTube. So you get those exclusively. Exclusive polls, exclusive content, and just a lot of exclusive love from us. So go to patreon.com/multiverse newscast.
Love.
Exclusive.
And we have a patron of the week, Colin Tompkins. Thank you so much, Colin Tompkins, for all the love that you give us over on Patreon. Appreciate you. And let's get to our Spotify poll. If you've seen Superman, how would you rate it 1 to 5? This 0% said 1, 0% said 2, 4.5% of you said 3. 50% of you said 4, and 45% of you said 5. So that's pretty high, around 4.5 average in amount. That's pretty high. I'm impressed that there's no Superman haters in the group, especially given that this network was birthed off of 50% Jeff Randall just talking how bad he hates DC. So
I miss that.
Well, I think it speaks to whether or not Soups is your guy. It's just there's something to enjoy in this movie at a very base level. So we even got a piece of feedback. I can't remember I think it might have been Kevin. Sorry, Kevin, if that's not your name, you know who you are. But he wrote in and was talking about how he liked the movie, but his big issue was the characterization of Superman. And so yeah, I think looking at these percentages here, like I said on a review, I would give it like an 8 out of 10, 8.2 out of 10, somewhere in that range. So I think that's in keeping with like a 4 out of 5. I can't give it a 5 out of 5 because that's like a 9 out of 10, a perfect movie. But yeah, 4 out of 5 feels right.
Yeah, I think I'd be right there too. 4 or 5 for me.
5 for me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, very good.
Oh yeah.
What is it for you, Haley?
He's my guy.
Haley,
he's my bro. Guy.
What you doing, Haley?
3. 3.5.
I was going to bring it up earlier, but we've gone so long. I really do want to hear your negative take on Superman. Maybe we'll do a Patreon
I don't
exclusive.
hate the movie at all. I want to put that out there.
I've got my own negative opinions of it that are still kind of formulating. I really enjoyed it in the moment, and then I'm sort of cooking up like some ideas of what there's certain things I didn't like, and I'm still placing it. You know what I mean?
Totally.
So maybe we'll do a Patreon exclusive or something.
Oh boy.
I will say I liked it a lot more on a second viewing. It's still an 8 out of 10 for me.
I would like to see it again and see. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right, well, let's dive into our lightning round. This is where we're going to try to do a legit lightning round tonight and do this fast because we've gone long. But this is where I'm going to read a story, and we can claim it with our names by shouting out our names. And if you must rebut, you get 1 rebuttal per lightning round. So here we go. Christopher Nolan made history by putting tickets on sale for The Odyssey exactly 1 year before the film's release, marking the first time any movie tickets have sold a full year in advance. The early sales were exclusive for IMAX 70mm screenings at select theaters, supporting Nolan's epic adaptation of the Greek myth that is being shot entirely on IMAX film cameras with a $250 million budget.
Bill. So I wrote an article for slashfilm.com, which you can find at slashfilm.com/Bill Bria. Why the Odyssey ticket presale set a horrific precedent for appointment cinema is the headline. I was very upset about this whole entire endeavor. I tried to get tickets for my preferred theater out here in LA, the Universal IMAX at City Walk. And I was sitting on not only my laptop, but also my phone. I had both open to the AMC Theaters app. And the laptop crapped out immediately, and it shut me out. It logged me out because of too many refreshes or something like that. And the app, I was able to get into the seat map, selected a seat, went to checkout. Sorry, that seat's already been taken. You have to go back to the beginning, get into the map, select another seat. Sorry, that seat's been taken. Go back.
Oh my
and
gosh.
Then by the time that was over, it was all gone completely. Wow. And these are 1 showtime per day, so only 4 showtimes total because they don't have the movie yet. It's not finished shooting.
Oh my goodness.
So they don't know what other showtimes to put around those yet. So obviously that's going to come later. But when these do come later, are these going to be A-list eligible in the way that if you're an AMC Stubs member, and usually you're able to select IMAX shows without an additional fee, because these were all A-list excluded because of the specialness of a year out, is that going to change from now on? Are we going to see this happen with other big event movies for the future? God, I hope not. And that's what my entire article is about. But as much as I love Nolan and I adore the guy, and as much as I am excited for the Odyssey, and as much as it's cute to like participate in this sort of gimmicky sort of release idea, I think if this is a precedent going forward, it's going to be a headache for everybody.
I wasn't going to have a take for the sake of time, but I didn't even contemplate. Like, I have AMC A-list as well, so contemplating having one of my slots taken for a full year, it's tough enough when a Marvel movie comes out and I buy it. I reserve my seat and it's like a month out that I have to have one of my slots taken. I can't imagine a full year of just waiting on this movie. Yeah.
Hulu announced that Futurama Season 13 will switch from its recent weekly release format to an all-at-once binge drop, with all 10 episodes premiering simultaneously on September 15th at 5 p.m. Pacific Time. The change marks a departure from the weekly rollout used for seasons 11 and 12.
Scotty, I am totally cool with this release strategy. I like the release strategy for the last couple of seasons they did, but we've talked a lot about on this show and other podcasts about the water cooler conversation. And as a fan of animation and adult animation like Futurama and Rick and Morty and shows like that, I think they do lend themselves to the binge model more so than like, hey, let's talk about every single one of these episodes and the gags and the sci-fi concepts. I mean, Futurama's got a lot there, especially if you're a fan of so many things we talk about. There are so many allusions and references to it all. It's a show I hold very near and dear to my heart. But yeah, not every show needs to have that water cooler conversation around it. So I do think it's a show that lends itself to binging. And then just thinking in mind about what Hulu's been able to do as kind of like a destination for revivals for these animated series. Like I'm looking at this. I'm also looking at the King of the Hill season 14, which is just around the corner here too. Like Hulu is the place to be.
Aaron Taylor Johnson is set to star in Robert Eggers' upcoming werewolf horror film Werewolf, with Lily Rose Depp in talks to join the project in what would reunite the Nosferatu co-stars.
Bill. I'm just excited, man. I'm an Eggers fanboy. So is my co-host for Bill and Ashley's Terror Theater, Ashley Coffin. We're just all jazzed to see him do it again.
Awesome. Nintendo and Sony's live-action Legend of Zelda movie has cast Bo Bragason as Zelda and Benjamin Evan Ainsworth as Link, with Nintendo's Shigeru Miyamoto revealing the casting choices alongside first-look photos on social media.
Scotty, I'm on board for this casting. I think it's the right move to go with like relatively unknowns. And I'll be honest, I am not familiar with either one of these performers. I haven't seen any of their work, but I think when you're taking characters like Link and Zelda that are so iconic that we've seen so many different variations of in terms of like the pixelated sprites, but we have seen very many variations of that. We've seen everything from the pixelated version to some of the more realistic graphics and some of the ones that lend themselves a little bit more into like the anime style. So when we first started talking about this movie, I thought the right move would be to do it animated, kind of like maybe in the style of like Studio Ghibli or something like that. But if you're going to go live action, I do think this is the right move. Do it with unknowns. These first looks that we're getting. I mean, I have a lot of faith and confidence in Wes Ball coming off of not only the recent Planet of the Apes film that he did, but just even with his work on the Maze Runner films, even though I haven't even seen all of those, that first one that I saw, just so many of the natural environments and the greens and just the way the characters were depicted on screen, I think it really does like make me think of so many of the set pieces in the world of Zelda, like the Kokiri Forest and looking for the Master Sword in various temples and whatnot. So this is one that I'm pretty hotly anticipating.
Taika Waititi is attached to direct a new feature film take on British comic book character Judge Dredd. Drew Pearce, the scribe known for Fall Guy and Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, is attached to write the script.
Bill. So yeah, this is another double-edged sword because I'm actually a big fan of Drew Pearce's. I think that his film Hotel Artemis, which kind of nobody saw when it came out, was something that was pretty solid. And I would have liked to see him direct more. He also did a great one-shot for Marvel, All Hail the King with Ben Kingsley.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which was also awesome. And I think he's got a real verve to his work, and obviously that carries through as a writer. So I think I'm totally on board with him adapting Dredd. Now, obviously, the Taika of it all is tricky because Taika recently has gone into a more increasingly just sort of arch headspace of I'm just making money and doing paychecks and all that. If he can tap into his early indie work, and not just Hunt for the Wilder People, but What We Do in the Shadows, if he can get mean with it, and if he can follow Pierce's lead, it could be something special, and it could be very reverent of the comic series and the character. We've had cheesy Dredd before. I like cheesy Dredd. I like Stallone. We've had Carl Urban Dredd, which is awesome. Which is the ghost-written, ghost-directed Alex Garland version, which with Urban was great in the role. I would have loved to see more of him, but unfortunately, it looks like we're not doing that. So I think there's room for Dredd interpretations. I just hope that Taika has a good head on his shoulders.
Quick rebuttal just to say the part that we don't mention here is like he's attached to direct this thing, but the movie is currently being shopped around. It's not attached to a studio, much less a distributor. So whether or not this movie actually goes on to see the light of the day remains to be seen. But interesting tidbit that I did read is that he and Drew Pearce have been friends for a long time, and they've been kind of trying to find the project to work on together. But yeah, I appreciate what you bring to the table there, Bill. I didn't know Drew Pearce had worked on so many things that I was a fan of, but I do look at Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, which is my favorite Mission Impossible personally. So yeah. Hopefully it does see the light of day, because I saw a lot of naysayers as soon as they saw Taika and Dredd. They were like, no, I'm not quite there. He is in a little bit of director jail for me, but I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. Like you referenced Hunt for the Wilder People. Take it back to those days and we could have something good here. Yeah.
Take it back now, yo.
One up this time.
Disney's live-action Lilo and Stitch has become the first film of 2025 to pass $1 billion in the international box office.
Haley, okay, cool, moving on.
Surprised it took this long.
Nearly 5 years after Netflix entered into a content agreement with Ubisoft, the streamer has ordered an Assassin's Creed live-action series based on the best-selling video game franchise. The project will be created, showrun, and executive produced by Robert Patino and David Weiner.
Scotty, this edition of the Lightning Round is continued to be brought to you by Bro Talk. So, Assassin's Creed is one of my favorite franchises. I remember when the first game came out in 2007, it was the first game that I was able to go out as a 17-year-old, buy the M-rated game, take it home, pop it into my Xbox, and have a day with it. So in the years since then, it's been a franchise that's been tough to have the same level of love for, because they went to like the yearly release model where it was definitely just oversaturation. It's like, hey, let's take a beat. This is a really great concept you have here. You're taking fans of history, but also taking a very, very interesting sci-fi conceit and setting it in kind of like the near future, what have you. And it's really disappointing when it comes to the film. I won't say too much because I know there are some people that like the film or tolerate the film, but it was just super disappointing for me because Michael Fassbender was attached. He was one of my favorite actors at the time, still is. I still like him a lot. And then the director, Justin Curzon, was coming off of I think he might have been coming off his Macbeth, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, that movie was just not all that it could be. So Netflix, again, is kind of hit or miss for me. It feels like they have their hand in so many of these adaptations, and it's kind of been, some of them are super well received, some of them not so much. So I'm hoping maybe it's a little bit more of a case of like something like an Avatar, where it does get some buzz and at least, some good reception to it, and it's not a case of like Cowboy Bebop where we just all collectively say, yeah, you shouldn't have touched that. So
DC Studios head James Gunn revealed that on the Happy Sad Confused podcast that he felt it was really unfair to Henry Cavill that he had to tell the actor he wouldn't be returning as Superman in the new DC universe, explaining that Cavill's return announcement came unexpectedly the same day he and Peter Safran were hired to reboot the character. Gunn praised Cavill as an absolute gentleman during their meeting and expressed interest in potentially casting him in a different role in the DCU.
Scotty, I think the most interesting thing, well, I won't say the most interesting thing, because there's a lot of interesting things here. talked a lot about it at the time, how it really felt like DC just came away with egg on their face after, announcing Henry Cavill coming back as Superman with Black Adam, and then kind of having to retract that. And I think what we learned is, James Gunn didn't full on say it, but he really kind of threw The Rock underneath the bus. It was like, hey, The Rock tried to come in and take over DC Studios, and blame him for this. But the fact that he's still interested in casting Cavill in a different role in the DC, I think that would be really cool. I don't know who the right role for him would be. I've already seen some fan casting for Batman. I think that's a little too meta for my particular taste, but certainly he's a talented actor, and he seems to have the ability to take things in stride and kind of have the wherewithal to potentially have fun with it and come back. So I'm down for it if he wants to.
Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse has been delayed to June 25th, 2027, 3 weeks later than its previous June 4th, 2027 date. Matt, that's okay, Spider-Verse. You guys take your time. Crystal Lake, the Friday 13th prequel series taking shape at Peacock, has cast child actor Callum Vinson to play young Jason Voorhees.
Bill, so yeah, I'm just going to use this space to talk about, I don't know what the hell is going on with the Jason universe. They are building a horror, Nights maze out here at Halloween Horror Nights for Universal Studios. I'm already hearing rumors that they can't use the term summer camp because the other rights holders have the rights to use that term in relation to Jason Voorhees. I don't know how much of that's real. I think it might just be a rumor, hopefully. But anyway, I think that it's clear that even though the rights issue has quote unquote been resolved, it really hasn't. So I'm tentatively optimistic for this series. It's kind of just amazing that any filmed content with Jason in it getting made at this day and age feels like a win. So it's like, okay, I guess we can take it. But I will say that there has been a precedent in the Friday the 13th franchise for, kind of veering off course in the way that this already seems to, in terms of being a prequel and obviously having a young Jason and obviously I believe, a young Pamela. This feels like it's going to take it in a sort of Bates Motel kind of direction, this series, which could be cool. That series, I didn't watch all of it, but it had its take, and that was kind of a neat thing to do with the Psycho mythos. And I think it could be potentially just as interesting in the Friday the 13th mythos. Also, there was a Friday the 13th TV series, which had nothing to do with the films. It was made by the same producers that had the rights to the title. But there's already kind of precedent in the franchise for, veering off course and doing other things than just Jason in a hockey mask, slicing up teenagers at a camp. So, I'm tentatively optimistic. Hopefully it's cool. But yeah, I don't necessarily love the Jason universe concept. And hopefully they figure their shit out.
It is kind of a thin concept if you really think about it. It is like a very this guy kills people.
Mm-hmm. And he's wearing a mask.
And he's been doing it.
Looks like a hockey mask.
He's been doing it for 30 movies now. I really like Jason in Space. That's my favorite one. Malcolm Jamal Warner, best known for starring in the TV sitcom The Cosby Show as Theodore Theo Huxtable, has died at 54. Warner drowned off the coast of Costa Rica on Sunday, according to the Costa Rican National Police.
Haley, that's sad. And drowning is one of the worst ways to pass away. So just what a bummer. What a bummer.
Yeah.
We're losing a lot of our people just so young in different ways. It's sad.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
For sure. In a post on the official Avatar X account, it was revealed that the first trailer for James Cameron's Avatar, Fire and Ash, will screen exclusively in theaters before showings of Marvel's Fantastic Four.
Bill, so I was very lucky to see this last night as well in full 3D, high frame rate, 40 FPS. It is, not to use a certain word, a marvel. It's just as gorgeous as the other Avatar films, maybe even more so. The colors, the aesthetic on display. If you thought Pandora was colorful before, hold your horses, because, oh my goodness, we're just getting an insane blast of color in this movie, apparently. I'm also really loving the vibe that Una Chaplin is giving this character Varang, who is the Na'vi leader of the volcano-dwelling Ash People clan. So this movie kind of feels like it's going to be Avatar's version of, I don't know, take your pick, Empire Strikes Back, Wrath of Khan. that kind of tone. It's what it's putting out in terms of like everything will change forever. They're hinting at maybe somebody important will die. I don't know. But we'll
Not
see.
Jake
And
Sully.
I think that not Jake. But yeah, so we'll see what happens. As long as Payakan doesn't die. Let's be real.
Yeah,
My
sure.
boy, the
Absolutely.
Tolkien, he's got to live forever. Is my
That's right.
my thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a gorgeous trailer. And again, if you see Fantastic Four First Steps in 3D, you're probably going to get the Avatar trailer in 3D as well. So I think it's incentive enough to go see Fantastic Four in 3D, really.
According to Variety, DC Studios is apparently eyeing actor Naomi Ackie from Sorry Baby and Blink Twice for the female lead role in Clayface. It's 2026 horror film starring Tom Rhys-Harris.
Bill, I just want to say that Naomi Ackie's really impressed me this year. Sorry Baby, she's great in. Mickey 17, she's great in.
That was her. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, if this continues that streak, more power to her. Awesome. Can't wait to see it.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's our lightning round. Man, what a packed show tonight. Thank you guys for being here. Let's go around and tell people where they can find us online, your shows, your socials, whatever. Bill Bria, thank you for being here. Always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, sir.
Bring a lot to the show. We appreciate you. Where can people find you online?
You can find me on most socials at Bill Bria, Blue Sky, Instagram, Twitter, X. So yeah, check me out, and of course find Bill and Ash Terror Theater on Stranded Panda Network, which is this very network.
Yeah. And Jay Scotty, what you got going on?
Well, keep your eyes peeled for the social media campaign #get/film FX screeners that will be we're starting the grassroots here, so
Yeah.
so keep an eye out for that. But we've kind of discussed, I think I will be joining you in just a few days for Fantastic Four First Steps reaction on the Marvel
that's
Cinematic
right,
Universe podcast. So definitely very excited and looking forward to that. Just trying to avoid the spoilers till then.
Me too.
Everybody dies.
Dang it, Bill. I had already forgotten, and now you reminded me. And Haley Hobbs, what do you got going on?
Brian and I are really looking forward to Fantastic Four. I am really excited to see what Matt Shakman did with this universe, just like what he did with WandaVision. So really jazzed for that. We did a primer over on Source Pages. And then The Sandman comes back this week on Netflix. And so probably starting early next week, Ashley and I will be covering that again on Always Watching. And we're still covering Outlander on Always Watching. And just shout out to episode 5 of season 2 of The Sandman, where we're getting tons of downloads because people think it's the song from the episode, and it clearly says podcast on Spotify, but we'll take it. Thanks.
That's great.
Is it called Enter Sandman?
No, it's called The Song of Orpheus.
Oh, interesting. Okay, cool.
Reading is hard.
Yeah,
Reading is fundamental.
indeed.
It's honestly comical how many more downloads it has than the other episodes.
Oh,
That's funny.
It's great. We'll take it.
Okay, so check out this episode of Multiverse News called "The Beatles." Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts
Yeah,
Band.
exactly. All right. Well, you can find me everywhere on the places, Stranded Panic Network. But the big thing we got going on this week is that Fantastic Four watch. We're gonna watch it live and try to be on the cast here live on YouTube, youtube.com/strandedpanda, to try to catch the live review. And if you go see it early, come catch us live. We'll be here. And if not, if you're listening to this, it'll be on the podcast app the next morning on Friday. So check that out. And we'll be back soon right here. Peace.
you stay classy, Multiverse.
Hey, thanks for listening to Multiverse News, or watching it, or whatever you're doing, eyeballs or ear holes, whichever thing. We do this show every week, and we appreciate you listening. Strandedpanda.com is where you can find all of our podcasts, and thank you for listening. Check us out wherever you get podcasts. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit the little bell icon, whatever you have on whatever service you're doing. Rate us, like us. We're really thirsty. That's what I'm saying.